Good evening, everyone. Welcome to my weekly Node-RED live stream, here with an hour or so of Node-RED development work. Welcome to this week. I hope you've all had a good week. Say hi in the chat if you're watching along live. If you're watching on YouTube, then it means I've finally got around to catching up on the backlog of uploading to YouTube, which I haven't done yet. Apologies for those eagerly awaiting that, but not knowing, because I haven't done it yet. So think of the live stream as currently exclusive content. We don't... Anyway. What are we up to? Well, last week, if you were with us, we started playing around with the idea of being able to lock flows in the Node-RED editor. So locking them so you can't... to prevent people from making changes. And we're going to carry on with this work. I'm not exactly sure which aspect of it we're going to tackle, but last week we got to the point where we got the basic idea of a Boolean flag, a true-false flag on the flow object that records whether it's locked or not, and we got the work going so that that value is getting saved and read back, and setting up little padlock icons on all the tabs in the editor to reflect. And in the editor, in the edit dialog for a tab, having the lock unlock button in the edit dialog. So lots of basic sort of, well, as I think I said last week, a bunch of the easy stuff. So tonight we're going to have a little poke around with what I think of as the hard stuff. We're going to start exploring the idea of, okay, what does it take to actually lock the flows to prevent modification? Now, that's what we're going to do. Taking a step back and thinking about this, we've got to decide how rigorous this locking needs to be. And by that I mean, do we want to make it impossible for anything to modify the flows? So lock down the APIs and all sort of programmatic ways that things can get changed? Or is it sufficient to, or can we do enough to do the lockdown, sort of, turn off the event handling? How far does that get us? Trying to identify what are the different routes that people can take to try and modify the locking, because we don't want people to circumvent it. It's certainly true to say we'll do some work in the runtime, in the more secure scenario, that will prevent modifications being deployed to locked flows under certain circumstances. So, it's like a double layer of security. The editor's we want to make it, we want the editor to stop you being able to change stuff. But if you did find a way to change stuff, we've still got to lock down the API as well, under certain circumstances. So that's the general approach. One of the other reasons I want to pursue this is some other stuff, other conversations we've had recently, sort of realizing some of the side effect benefits of this feature. Here, let's pull that up so you're not staring at me and you can see the chat. Hello to everyone who has said hi already in the chat. What was my train of thought? Oh yes, something that has become self-evident in the last few days is with admin auth, the security you can apply to the editor, we do support the idea of a read-only user. So a user who can access the editor, but they can't deploy any changes. And we've had that for a very long time. The user experience isn't ideal because as a user, you get no visual indication that you're a read-only user. So it actually lets you make changes in the editor. It's only when you come to hit deploy that it hits the admin API, and it's that which rejects it because you don't have write permission. And that's not the best user experience. It'd be far nicer if I'm logged in as a read-only user, that I know I'm a read-only user, and that I'm unable to make changes. I can still open up edit dialogues and see things, but I can't confirm anything. I have to cancel all the dialogues and that type of stuff. So putting the effort here around locking flows, want to have half a mind of there are other scenarios, not just about locked flows, where we want to understand what it takes to lock down the editor and prevent changes getting made. Okay, that's a lot of waffle. So let's dive in and let's actually think about what we're going to do. Copy and export. Bobby Tables asks, someone could copy or export a lock flow, then paste it into a new flow and edit it. Yeah, so that is actually, that scenario I do highlight. Yeah, that has had some thought. So yeah, there's nothing we can do, and there's no intention to prevent a user from being able to export a flow, because frankly they could just call the admin API and get the flow JSON even if the editor didn't open up the dialog. So it would be we're not going to prevent exporting of a locked flow, I don't believe. But of course, as soon as they've exported the JSON, they would be free to remove that flag. Crucially though, it's the import that is where we would need to put some additional logic. So right now, if you import a node with an ID that you've already got, the import process will say, do you want to replace that node or do you want to import a copy? And I think what we would do in the case of a locked flow is we wouldn't let you overwrite anything in a locked flow, but you'd be able to import a copy of it. Which, yeah, it's a copy. Yeah, that's that. But the original is still there and can't be modified. So that is probably good enough. You know, if the one of the goals here is, there's a bunch of different use cases, but this isn't about, we're not stopping someone seeing the flow or seeing the details of the flow. We're just stopping them being able to modify it. So if you have a system which has got some sort of admin level flows in that you don't want your users modifying, then you can lock them. And there's nothing to be gained by the user duplicating those flows, because the originals will still be there. So yeah, but let's let me find Node-RED. Oops, not by closing it. There we are. So right now we've got a Node-RED editor, we've got a couple locked flows and an unlocked flow. So we need to start thinking about what can we do both at a sort of an API level as well as at user interaction. Because the API level won't stop like dragging a node into this workspace. Bad example because this one's not locked. Dragging it and releasing the mouse now. It's one thing to, if what am I thinking? We've got to work out what's the right level of preventing edit actions. So if you've got a locked flow open, do we disable dragging? Obviously, we don't want to support you dropping a node into this space. But do we want to go to the level where you can no longer even try dragging, for example? So, yeah, that's some of the stuff I want to think about. But we're going to do, this is a bit of exploration, unashamedly. There's probably far more complication to this than I'm allowing for. So there we are. Welcome, first time chat from 88KSK. Software engineer student, I'm problems about Java. Use your for learning programming, teachers programming. Do you know a site where I can find the answer to this question? I'm afraid Java is not something I have used for quite a few years. So I'm afraid that isn't something I can point you at. Yeah, sorry, I'm afraid I can't help you. Sorry about that. Right, I'm going to crack on with... Right, what we are going to do is think about putting some protection in at the editor API level and then work back from there. So right at the moment, I'm here in import nodes. So this is what gets called whenever we import nodes. So that would apply. What are the scenarios where we call this? Well, the initial load of the editor calls import nodes. There's copy and paste uses import nodes, and of course the import dialog uses import nodes. So what we could do here, although this has got the import, this gets a little tricksy because this also deals with, like I was saying, importing duplicates and that type of stuff. So yeah, there's just, it's one that's slightly overwhelming that there are so many actions to consider, trying to work out what the best way to do it is. As I use it as an example, let's have a look at dragging nodes. So let's close all that. Let's go find right, Brain is catching up with the talking. So we're in editor client, JS palette. So somewhere in all of this, I think, if I search for draggable. So this uses jQuery for doing the dragging. One of the few jQuery plugins we do use, start, stop, drag. Okay, so there's a bunch of right, there's a bunch of stuff we want to check is not being allowed. So I'm just going to deploy, I want a basic flow on this tab, because one of the things we want, for example, is notice how when I drag the mouse over the wire, you get that splice effect. Well, again, it's one thing to disable dropping the node, we also want to disable the actions whilst you're dragging. So what we're going to look at is I'm pretty sure and say drop enabled, add a new variable called drop enabled, and when we start the dragging we're going to say drop enabled equals true. Down here we'll say if drop enabled, so only bother doing all of this. Right, let's collapse this down so I get the, yeah, we're only going to bother doing all of that if drop enabled is true. Let's make sure, no. Done. Right, I've broken the indentation. Yeah, there's splice timer. That's lined up. That's lined up. Why is that not? Because all of that needs shunting in. There we are. Yeah, Noxboy. Disabling the palette entirely is another option. As you can see, I've launched off down a different route. I'm less certain about that. What I'm going to look for here is all of that. Right. And then here, rather than just set it to true, we are going to red.workspaces.active. So that returns the ID of the active workspace. Red.workspaces get red.nodes.workspace red.workspaces.active.locked. There we are. So that will return true or false. Let's just check it. That tells us whether the current active tab is locked or not. So we are going to do that. So basically, drop is only enabled if it's not locked. And yeah, we're going to minimize all this work. Okay. Well, let's see. Well, you can see the hashing of the line doesn't work. Well, except we do actually want to do some of this to get the. In fact, we are definitely going to do all that, and then this guy. There's, I think we still want to do that. This UI original position dot left. I think that is important, even if we don't planning on dropping it. Yeah, that it's subtle, but it just keeps the node attached to the right place. Okay. But the key point here is on this locked. You can see it doesn't try splicing the wire, but I can still drop it. Okay. So we've done the draggable side of things. What we now need to go find in view.js is the droppable part of it. Chart.droppable. Now, I think, yeah. So let's get, what we're going to do is if it's locked, then we're just going to return. I think that's all we do. I think we don't get any fancier than that. So let's see. Yeah. So you can drag it and it doesn't go anywhere. Interestingly, oh no, not interesting. Nothing. Yeah, it's kind of functional, but yeah. Well, we're going to build this up slowly. Now, what we're going to do is what are we going to do? Somewhere in here there's red.events.on workspace change. Here we are. So this gets called whenever we change what tab we're looking at. What we're going to do, active flow locked. I think that's what we're going to do. Event.works. Event.workspace is the workspace itself. does this get set? Oh, okay, it's not a global. Curious. Okay. What we're going to say is if active subflow.locked, because sorry, just thinking through. Pretty sure active subflow is an object, not just an ID. Yes, it is. So active subflow, if we're looking at a subflow, active subflow is that subflow. Now, we've not done anything with subflows to give them a locked property, but I'm going to do a little bit of a head start, and let's say, imagine we had added an active a locked property to subflows. That will come, or basically what I'm just trying to think how to do this efficiently. So this event gets called whenever we change tab. We might be looking to work a flow. We might be looking at a subflow. And it's just how you most effectively handle those two cases. And indeed, the edge case of workspace 0, which, again, you know me and cans of worms. What I'm thinking is, what am I thinking? Active flow locked. So we're going to add active flow locked, and then on workspace change, wherever that was, here, we're going to say if active subflow so if it's a subflow, we'll look at the subflow property. Otherwise, we're going to have to do red.nose.workspace event.workspace, which might not exist. There's an edge case, so we're going to say var active workspace if active workspace, then active flow locked equals active workspace dot locked. I'm sure there's going to be more elegant ways of writing this, but this will do. Else active flow locked equals, so if we get to this point, this is a supreme edge case, but we're going to say true for that edge case, which I don't think we need to worry too much about. Okay, so now we've got active flow locked. If I go back to that droppable, rather than all of that gumph, we can just say if active flow locked, return. Let's check that's doing what we think it should. Yep, so I can't add the node to that space, but I can to that one. Cool. Okay, it's a start. Now we need to start thinking about all the mouse events. So as a read-only user, I think I should be able to select stuff, because if I want to export it, and we're not preventing export, that's reasonable. And also just select something to see its information, or to double click it to see its edit dialog. That's all stuff we want to permit, I think, for a locked flow. But what we don't want to allow is moving. What we don't want to allow is the quick add dialog. So any of the mouse interactions that can lead to a change. So let's do moving first, because that's... I was going to say the fateful words. Let's do moving first, because that's the easy one. Yeah, there must be a bingo card of phrases I use on this stream that come to bite me on the ass. So, what we can go look for is, if I turn on case sensitive searching, this will be better. red.state.moving. In fact, we're going to look for, we're looking for anywhere where we set the mouse mode to red.state.moving. This is moving active, which is different. It's subtle, but it's important. Moving means things are already moving. Sorry, moving active means things have already started moving. Moving state means we're about to start moving. Here, prepare drag. In fact, in prepare drag, I think I can do if active flow locked, return. Let's just check where else we set mouse mode to moving. So here we set it to moving. Where are we? What function are we in? We are in the big one, node mouse down. That's curious. So it sets it to moving and then it calls prepare drag, which the first thing prepare drag does is set mouse mode to moving. So I'm going to venture that that is redundant. That to set mouse mode to moving there is redundant, and I'm going to remove it because that's, yeah. Okay, so now if we reload, we're on the lock tab. I can click it. I can't move it. I can group select. I can't move it. Nope. I can still do quick add. Ooh, that's curious. Yeah, okay. There's something, the stream might not pick this up. Now, if I click on a node and release the mouse, it's not staying selected. And the reason it's not staying selected is we're not leaving the mouse mode in moving state, which the selection logic relies on in order to keep things hunky-dory. So there's part of me that thinks, that makes me think, because of the way this works, active flow locked, I wonder if we're better off so this is the point when we set it to moving active. I wonder here, and I am just looking through all this logic. So this click elapsed, I think, if active flow locked, only if the active flow is locked, not, sorry, that should be not. because this is the work that actually moves us into actively moving a node, or moving the selection, I should say. So now that's good. Now I can select the node. That's not been modified. Oh. Okay, that singularly failed. Oh, because I was setting, yeah, I didn't have the if statement around the right thing. Yeah, the Bobby tables around changing the node icon. Yeah, there's certainly stuff like that we'll think around adding, but because it's quite obviously there, I've got the moving icon, which we don't want. So, but yeah, well, no buts. But here I've got to the point where I can't move stuff. If I group, I select the group. See, I can't move the group. That's good. I can, yeah. So, yeah, I think it's the right thing that it lets me come in and select individual nodes. I don't know. Yeah, we'll need to think about just how much interaction we want to allow. I mean, it's true to say, do we even want to allow the edit dialogues to be opened? Given you can see the properties in the sidebar here. Don't know. I have to have a think of that. Now, because you've drawn my attention to it, let's go have a look at flow.sss, and we look for, is it cursor move. Okay, but what we want is, I'm just looking, chart. Just what I'm looking for is, if I disable that, at some level we are definitely setting a CSS class, and what I'm looking for is at what level there. Note there we set red UI workspace disabled right up a very high level in the stack, but we're not doing that for locked. Now if we were doing that for locked, then we'll be able to apply custom CSS within the editor. So let's go have a look at, I think this is stuff we touched on last week, which in hindsight could have predicted. So yeah, see all this toggling. Where are we even? History, okay. Yeah, so we've got history stuff to figure out at some point. Here it is. So if the workspace, where are we? Yeah. So this is going to toggle the locked flag at the top level, which is what we want. Here's another instance of it, and yep, no, we'd already fixed that one. Coming down through, here we are in the flow property pane. Yeah, I'm going to have to work through all these different scenarios and just workspace. Oh, here we go. This is important. This is whenever we change what the active tab is. Locked, locked, locked. Yeah, we're happy with all that. This one. Set workspace state. Okay, so that's toggling the enabled state. And then here's lock state. And yep, I already had. So I had the logic in some places, just not everywhere we might need it. And certainly not in the history. So again, we'll have to come back and fix that up. But let's just see where we've got to now. So what I'm looking at is, yeah, this red UI workspace entry down here. You can see it's now got the workspace locked state. If I swap to the unlocked one, you can see the class has gone. Come back and it's appeared. If I edit it, unlock it there, hit done. Yep, the class has gone. Yeah, so I think actually we had it pretty much everywhere we needed. I think I only ended up fixing it in one place just then that we clearly missed last time. Oh dear, sorry, I just got distracted by depressing UK politics Twitter. Here we're going to say if we are in red UI workspace locked, this guy, then we're going to set cursor to pointer. See if that worked. There we are. So we've now got the pointer rather than the move icon. Okay. So what's next? Where do we want to go next? What do we need to disable? Well, let's disable adding links next. So that's what state is that? So let's just look at state.js. We are joining. That's the state we're in when we're starting to drag a wire. So let's find red.state.joining. So there are two places where we enter joining state. Port mouse down, perfectly good place. In fact, if we do a mouse down on a port, then yeah, we don't want to enter joining state. I was just thinking that this quick joining, that's the control click we can do for. We'll deal with that one next, but let's do active and not active flow locked. Let's find the next joining here. Where are we at here? Okay, we're here. We are inside red.state.joining or quick joining, but like I said, we're trying to prevent ourselves getting into those states. So, so now, yeah, now I can't click and drag. In fact, none of the modifiers like shift click and all that, none of them are working either. Okay. But it is a bit deceptive to highlight the port in this state. So let's go back to our back to our CSS and just copy that for reference. Trying to remember how we port hovered. There we are. But we're going to say going to say? How do we say it? We want to say need to be a little careful about how we reuse this. Whether we reuse it. Okay. So red UI workspace, not red UI workspace locked. So, assume I've got this right, as long as the workspace isn't locked, then if we're hovering a port, then highlight it. I think. Yeah, look, mouse over the port, it does nothing. Okay. Noxboy, just throwing this out there. Yeah. Could there be a case where you only want to allow the edit dialog to be allowed on certain nodes, no locked flow? Yep, that's a... Yes. I can imagine people asking for that. There is not an intention to allow that, is my short answer on that. Node actions, these buttons, we want to disable those. Now, we actually have something for that. I'm pretty sure we have something for that. I just need to... We have something for that because we have the wherewithal to disable them when you're viewing a subflow, because we don't support them in subflows. So that's on node enter, but node each, color change, toggle, node icons, there is button enabled. No, is button enabled. Yeah, because we have to disable them on disable ones as well. So it's disabled. Yeah, all of this and ws.locked. Let's try that. Cool. So now the you say you're disabled, but you're letting me click you. That's what? Okay. Let's go have a look at Zim button enabled. Look at this. Node button clicked. Ah. Yeah, so we're just going to add yeah, slightly surprised. I mean that's a bit of code duplication here. Yeah, but and we could probably go in with adding a node action. Yeah, a different message here. If it's locked, then in fact, I'm just going to add an else if. .ts or not .ts.locked. So for this, I'm not going to do a toast notification if you try clicking on a locked, for the time being at least. Okay, we're slowly locking things down. You can't drag to add wires, you can't move nodes, you can't interact with the buttons. Right, now I can't control click, so I can't go into quick add mode, but I can control click the workspace and it shows the quick add dialog. So let's show quick add. And what we're going to do here is if active flow disabled, no, not disabled, if active flow locked, just early return. So by sticking it in here, we will catch all the different ways that this dialog can get shown. So control click does nothing. Awesome. Right click, insert node, does nothing. Now, yes, this context menu, we should, we need to, delete it. Yeah, there's still a whole bunch of actions. All the actions we've got that can modify flows need working. Cut wire. Yeah. You know what? Yeah. We changed the keyboard shortcut it's on, and I just, yeah. So yes, we need to disable the cutting. So what's state? That's another state, isn't it? Slicing. Slicing and slicing junction. So let's go find slicing. In fact, here. It's right in front of us. Yeah, I think we can just stick that up there. Let's just double check. Red.state. Just checking. Yeah, this is the only place we set the mouse mode to slicing or slicing junction. So we can lock it out quite quickly there. Yeah. No slicing happening. Getting there, okay. There is, yeah, we've got a whole bunch of actions that need, so that I'm using the keyboard shortcuts we have for moving stuff. Yeah, let's go look at view tools. How are we doing? It's 10 to 9. Yeah, this is going to be a slow bit of work to get through this. Here we have a whole load of actions. All of these guys. So what do we want? Yeah, basically all of these are actions. Well, most of these are actions that move stuff. So move selection, let's start there. Yeah, I kind of want, what do I want? I want red dot workspaces active. See, it's this bit of code which I think I'm going to end up, that's just a lot of code to write lots of times, but we'll stick with it for now. So if the current workspace right, let's see this. We're going to crash it. We're going to hit a bug, I think. Right, so select a node. I now can't move it, which is good. If I open a subflow, select the node, I get errors. And it is because of this line of code. Because red.workspaces.active is returning a subflow ID, and red.nodes.workspace, you don't return subflows, so that line of code is no good. What I really want is in fact, we're just going to add it. So this is red.workspaces. In here you can see active, return active workspace. We're going to say is active locked. I think. It's not really the API style I prefer. We don't really do this sort of accessor. So what? Well, okay, excuse me, we're going to stick with it. So we're going to get hold of whatever's active, and then we are going to return WS stare at the moment. Yeah, we'll go with that for the moment. That's it. I don't really, this isn't an API style we generally use, so is active locked. It's only because we need to do it in quite a lot of places that I would like to have a nice accessor function. So, oh, that's interesting. Oh, because, sorry, subflows can't be locked. So, yeah. So look, I can moving the node around using my keyboard, but that's good. Go to a locked flow, select the node. I can't move it around, and no errors. So I'm going to stick with this is active locked for the sake of, the sake of anything. And how does that get used? No, not for anything we care about. So set selected node label state. Well, we are going to bail early if, select first node, go to get children, get parents, get siblings, go to. So none of those are modifications, they're navigation. Align selection to edge. We'll bail early. Distribute selection. Oops. Oh, man. Right. Align selection. We'll bail early. And collapse. Here, we'll bail early for distribute selection. Reorder selection. Can't even think what that does, but we're going to wire series of nodes. Yep. Wire node to multiple. See, I'm getting near to the point where it feels like, I don't know, it feels like there could be a more elegant way of doing this, in the sense of, what if when you register an action you say, do you change state? You say align to grid, did I miss? Oh yeah, align to grid, thank you. Done. Calculate grid snap offsets. No. Generate node names. Get rid of. Add junctions to wires. Nope. Copy item URL. That's fine. That should be all of those actions. Okay. Align selection to bottom. Align selection to center. Yeah. I mean, random sample of 2 actions, but they seem to prevent themselves from happening. If I come in here, select all, align selection to center, we get that. Work of art. Okay. I'm sure there are other actions. So let's just go to view and copy. Copy selection is okay. Delete selection and paste. So we're going to disable paste. We're going to go find delete selection. In fact, there are all of these. And in fact, yeah, we're then also going to have to go through and add some logic to disable the menu options, but one thing at a time. Delete selection, edit selected node, that's okay. Go to selection, undo, redo, select all, zoom in, zoom out, enable, yeah, select node state, that's another one. Right, there's just one at a time. So we're on line 679. We'll come back to that in a sec. Delete selection. In fact, we're in view.js, so we can, rather than use is active locked, then we can say active flow locked. Yeah. I think that was the point I was half making. Whether there's a way when you register an action to say, does this change state? And then have the action subsystem automatically disable the action. There's some merit to that. Because I'm well aware that if third parties have created custom actions, there's no way we can stop them modifying the flow state. Yeah. Part of the problem is because we haven't put a strict API around the node graph, you can sort of just get references to objects in memory and muck around with them. Yeah. It's not like you get a node, change it, and then write it back. You can just get a node and make changes in memory. Which, again, in hindsight, would be something else. I've seemed to have strayed into view tools. Where were we? Thank you. 679. So we've done delete selection, edit selection. We said it's okay. Set selected node state. Oops. Set selected node state. And yeah, part of what we're doing tonight is just working out the scope of the changes needed. And yeah, if more is needed, then more is needed, or a different approach is needed, so be it. You know, this is kind of the what we're here to do. Because I'm aware, I mean, if you look at the flow linter, which has the ability to apply fixes, that unless we build in awareness of locked flows into the flow linter, then yeah, that's going to be an issue. So, yeah. And this is why I make the point for the much stricter version of this. It's the runtime API that will verify that no changes are getting slipped in under the radar. Okay, so we shouldn't be able to delete. Funnily, if I do cut, it doesn't get it, we copy it, but we don't cut it. We leave it behind. Paste doesn't work. As I mentioned, we need to add some logic to disable these menu items because it's all locked. So why don't we do that now? Where were we? 679-ish, weren't we? So whenever the selection changes, so active flow locked or yeah. Let's say can edit is not active. Sorry, active flow locked. Can edit is not locked and has selection. The can edit multiple is not active flow locked and has multiple selection. Okay, so now for each of these which has selection, we will disable it if it's can't edit. And then can edit multiple for these guys down here. And look at me putting in spaces after my commas, finally having enforced linting rules in the day job certainly is making my eyes twitch around the Node-RED code base with its slightly more flexible. Except copy we are going to allow, because that isn't an edit. Edit, select connected. What? Select connected. That's okay. That's not an editing. But these are all moving, these are aligning, and those are distributing. Okay. Let's see what that looks like. So now, with stuff selected, the arrange menu is all disabled, edit menu is all disabled, although copy was still disabled there, which was that just a build? Selection. Okay, so there we've got copy selected nodes is enabled there. Oh, it's negated because this is setting if it's disabled or not, and then I'm calculating the true to say it can be. So, yep, split selection with link nodes. Yeah, let's go find where that is. Split wire with links. That's it, isn't it? So yeah, in fact, when Steve added that, it looks like we didn't add anything to deal with toggling if it's enabled or not. So we are going to add it now. But this is slightly different, so console.log selection. Just remind myself what the selection looks like. Yeah, links. So every time, a slight finger slip there. Has selection, has more selection, has link selected. In fact, what test does view tools? So yes, whether do we duplicate all of that logic or not? Or do we just be a bit more crude and accept that people might not notice? Has link selected selection.links.length. Oh, selection.links, just in case. And selection.links.length is greater than 0. Has link selected active flow locked, or so we will disable it if active flow is locked or we haven't got any links selected. So it should be disabled right now, which it is. We select the link, it's still disabled. If we go over here, it should still be disabled. I select the link, it's now enabled. Coolio. Right, 9:10. That's some good progress. Other areas we need to think about is the context menu. So in fact, I say context menu, where are you? Can edit is not red dot workspaces. What do we call it? Is active locked. Is that what I called it? Yeah. Okay, so now here we go. So this is the quick add dialog insert. So we're going to say disabled if not can edit. Here we are going to say it's disabled if it's not can edit, or I think a lot of these are going to be not can edit, or this is inserting a junction. Which again we want to be disabled if not can edit. Link nodes Yeah. Right, undo, redo will leave in place. Cut selection, yeah, disabled if we can't edit. Copy will always be enabled. Paste will be, yeah. Delete selection, yep. Show export, select all. Ungroup and group, yeah, we'll want to disable those. If we can remove from group, then in fact this one will so the logic is a bit different. This isn't a disable flag, this is an enable if statement. I think that's got them all. Reload, right click, nothing is enabled. Select that, I can copy it, yeah, still nothing. If I select them, yeah. Okay. I have to say, no, I don't have to say. Don't have to say anything. No. There we are. Good progress. Create group. Oh, there's always, yeah. Yeah, there's still more menus. There's more work to be done just to seek and destroy all those different options. But it's 9:15. I'm going to wrap. Otherwise, I'm just going to be here for hours just tracking down all these edge cases. But good progress. I also want to take a step back a bit and just digest some of the points you made, Noxy Boy. Now I've got a sense of what's involved, and we've done a lot of it. I'm also aware how fragile it is, that it relies on us remembering to add this test for everything that wants to modify the node state or the workspace state. That might just be how it is. It might just be too big a change to try and take a different approach on that. But that said, not that said. With that, I'm going to say good night. Have a good week. In fact, have a good 2 weeks. Next week, I am at NodeConf EU over in Ireland. A wonderful time to be converting my UK pounds to euros. Yeah. So no live stream next week. I'm at NodeConf EU. Also remember, it's Node-RED-Con next Friday. We've published the schedule now on the website and all the speakers are up. We'll be promoting it through this week, so do go and have a look. You can get your regular Node-RED fix, video Node-RED fix on Node-RED-Con end of next week. Otherwise, I'll be back in 2 weeks and we'll be carrying on with this if I haven't made progress in the interval. Thanks all for joining. Always awesome to see you all. Have a great week. Have a great 2 weeks. And until then, ta-ra. Good night and all that. Bye now.